Thank you. So we're just opening the slide.
Look to the
Like that. I'm just waiting for the slides, huh? While I'm going through the slides, probably it would be good for you to talk amongst yourselves. You've got this group. How did you group yourselves? Just talk about some of the reading difficulties that your students face in the classroom, and what are some of the strategies that you're using? It's important for us to know where, like, it's good for you to unpack what you have, what you know, before we learn some other information this morning. Spend a few time just talk in your groups. The back team can
we have two principal and one secondary school group, so they can group all.
Yeah, well, you might have non-readers in your schools as well. And you could learn from the teachers that are here, apart from the workshop. So sit with whichever group you're in. I'll just give you 5 minutes because I'm trying to just set up, and then we can provide the time for feedback before we proceed. We go back. We go back. You would think that okay. Saya ada cerita. Okay, what are some, just going through the rule from one group to another, what are some reading difficulties that your students are showing in your schools? Or maybe there's few of you, maybe one, two or three who would like to share about the issues of non-readers in your schools? I'll start with that group.
Thank you, Madam. My classmate is girl. She's in Vietnam now, and still I struggle with her because she's a secondary. She's struggling to read.
Okay.
And in particular with science, I have to go back and work with teachers.
But she can speak.
She can speak. She identifies things through pictures easily, but with mathematics, she's just a reading.
Anybody else?
Good morning, madam. I belong to South Secondary. So at our school, this is what we do. As home teachers or the EA teachers, it is our responsibility to identify the non-readers and the slow readers in the class. And we are able to do this over a period of 1 month, whereby home teachers bring different methods. Some like they take storybooks, which is equivalent to primary school level, like year 4 maybe. And then we ask children to read 1 to 1. And then we also observe the way students are taking down notes on the board. It becomes obvious that the child who is not good with literacy will be looking at each and every letter on the board to put it down on the board with the paramount amount of spelling errors that would be there. We give the data, the school has it, but there is no design intervention.
Thank you. Back benches.
Most of us in our classrooms, we do have struggling readers, and some of the children too we come across they read according to what they hear, like rote. For example, when we used to give them a book and they read the book for 1 week. And what comes in the book, it's already up there. It's like rote, they know. Even when you close the book, some children are still reading. Yes, that's memory-based.
Yeah.
But some, they are skill-based readers where they tackle the words according to the science. And when that comes up with some of memory-based, we have some, we have to pick them up and do interventions program. And like some of our colleagues from secondary teachers, they asked what are some of the things that we do. And we told them the first thing is to go back to the phonics. Renata.
Thank you, madam. Okay, anybody else from the group? The same? Alright, the group. Ganito round out ang mandatory. Did you have any discussion or no? Yeah? Okay. Yeah. Around that means there was still gonna act. When I'm not to be ready to be. Yeah.
Just for my cluster that I was teaching last year, I'm in a new school now.
Fine.
I was teaching year 7 and 8 for Nakomo district last year. I faced outside that came to my class. They came from another school that I could not read at all. So they had a difficulty throughout the year. I was trying to save them down to just follow classes to help people. So at the end of the year, people be able to read, but at the end, we did a little bit of reading. And not to the extent that we wanted to read before education. That's, so for me personally, I'm trying to move around to get ideas of how to train these type of students to become good readers. I've attended a few literacy workshops, but I'm still not satisfied at the moment. So I hope the workshop that I'm attending now will be able to help me. Because I'm thinking of going back to class 1 next year, to teach class 1. And that's my time at the moment, to start again from class 1. So I'm going around workshops, trying to get ideas from experts on that reading intervention. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. This group?
Renaka. For reading problem. I think it's all primary school teachers who have been speaking for reading problems. This is my second year in the school that I'm teaching. I was at Nukumbolu for at least 8 years. We managed to tackle the problem of reading in that school with Mrs. Mande.
Yes.
Yes. And this year I'm in Kasabo and I face the same problem. But I give them assessment, pre and post, so that we can categorize them into their reading abilities. So the one that I found out from 1 to 8, that facing the difficulties in reading, they always be taken to years 1 and 2. And I want to inform these teachers, we all went together to that same institution. We all have the strategies to combat that reading problem. And while there, the year 8 has to come to years 1 and 2 for the reading problem. And I inform the teacher in charge, you can set them with a simple comprehension. Go down to simple comprehension, and then you build up to that the reading level. So right now, in the school that I'm in, I was discussing with my 2 colleagues here. My year 1, I got 14 students in year 1 who can able to read now. This is weaker. Week 8. So the strategies that I followed was, the first one was morning routine, consistency. And the second one Once I cannot achieve from the morning routine, I took Jolly tonics, which is very good. So it is just us teachers who can change that reading problem in our own scenario in the classroom. Because once we build a strong foundation from ECE, HOS, if they are here, they have to check on their morning routine, then there won't be any problem in reading.
Nakbalevo. All right. It is evident that a lot of teachers do not know the skills, and that is basically depends on when you went to teachers college. Some were explicitly taught how to teach reading, and some were not taught at all. And so we learn through trial and error, we learn through friends, etc. But and often maybe for those of you who are here because you have smaller classes, the challenge may not be as big as what they're facing in urban schools where you have 40 students to one teacher. And but it is not impossible to settle. It can be done. And that's something that we will learn this morning. And before we move on to dyslexia, understanding dyslexia and its impact on learning, first I'd just like you to go around the room. Tell me, what have you heard of the word dyslexia? Put your hand up if you've heard the word. It's okay if not, you have not heard, right? Or just a nod if you've heard, or have you, maybe if you have heard, what do you understand by the term dyslexia? What do you, maybe some of you have heard about it, but you don't really understand it, huh?
Yes, madam.
All right, okay. Before we go to talk about this learning disabilities, which dyslexia comes under, I'd like us to understand the difference between a learning difficulty and a learning disability. Because we found there's a lot of children with learning difficulties who struggle in the room. And often teachers think that they have a disability, when in fact it has to do with the difficulty. I'll let you just look at that for the time being. Think before we talk about it. Let's have a discussion around this, especially around the learning difficulties. Because when we do not know our children enough, we overlook that part. Do you think that learning can be impaired by those factors? Yes? Let me share a story with you. A few years ago, I was called to a school to assess a student in class 5. Year 5, and the teacher said, "Madam, I think if you could come and assess the student, we think that he has dyslexia or learning disability." So I went to the school. I saw that the student was just walking along the corridor. So I brought him to the computer room where him and I could have a one-on-one conversation. So the first question I asked him is, where do you live? I live here. He described, how many people do you live with? Madam Tinkali Masaka. 15 people. And that's where I really picked. Okay, oh, okay. Tikalima, how many are working? Dua Saka. Oh, yeah, they're the Saka. Mom. All right. And na, us trying to be as friendly and create that environment. Because like a house girl. Kung ka na ba? Hindi raisi saka. Kung tayo like, pasili ako lunchtime. Saka sa mga gusto ng lunch. Yaba kami. Sa kita doon ti raisi saka. So from the conversation, I figured the child lived in a crowded home. So maybe he did not have a place to do his homework. Conversation showed me that he lived in a home where he was not receiving enough nutritional meal. As we know, balanced diet is important to have a bright brain, healthy brain. Not only that, but what else? Yeah, and the food he was eating. Schools was not aware that he was having tea and rice for breakfast, tea and rice for dinner, almost on a daily basis. And where there's no rice, noodle and cassava. And this is a scenario in our homes today because of the high cost of living. So after that discussion, the child opened up to me. I said, okay, bring a book. I got a simple book. Guess what? He read the whole book to me. And then I dictated a story, and I asked him to write just a few sentences, and he wrote. So what has happened? The child that the teachers thought did not know how to read and write knew exactly that. So what would be the problem if we have to ask ourselves, if that was a student in your school and you discovered that this is what happened to the student? What would be your initial reaction?
No connection.
Thank you, no connection. No relationship. You had that in the video yesterday, yes? That was a profound video. The importance of relationship and connecting to your students. And because there was no connection, the child just did not have anyone to share. You understand that, huh? And so, yeah, day in and day out, and because and often this is what we do, especially I guess in urban centers where there's a lot of students. Okay, you just don't attend, I won't attend to you, I'll move on with the fast learners. And so the non-reader or the slow reader continues to be left behind. Yeah? And that was the case for this one. And then I came back, I wrote a report. Before I wrote the report, I spoke to the teacher. He can read and write. And I spoke to the teacher about everything that he had spoken to me about. And so that struggle that he had was a learning difficulty. He was not disabled as the teachers had assumed. Now you might have similar students in your classrooms. All we need to do is to, if we can do home visitation to find out how they live in your home. You talk about emotional issues. There was a few years ago, another school teacher said, Madam, these students, something is really wrong with the student. I think the student really has a intellectual disability. What happened? Now the child comes to school, she just sits at the back and she just touches herself. Day in and day out, and we talk to the grandmother who's a caregiver. She said, nothing is wrong with her granddaughter. And the next time, and that girl is troublesome in the classroom. We called the grandmother again, and the grandmother said that she is a liar. She lies to the neighbors. She's rebellious. She does not listen to grandmother. Want to be available, and every other thing. But the child continued to do that. I said to the teacher, she is displaying symptoms of sexual harassment. She is doing to herself what is being done to her in home. 2 years later, unfortunately, it was unfortunate that the school at that time did not do anything. No, well, they did. They called the Ministry of Education. Counselor is coming. After 1 year, no counselor. But it was 2 years later then we were able to resolve the issue. But then it was said, because we found out for that extra 2 years, the child was being sexually harassed every day by her own father, who was a civil servant. That's just to wrap that story. And the child was going through that emotional issues. Of course she will rebel because she's angry with what is happening within her. She had no one to go and talk to. So the only way to display her anger is to rebel. Because many times we don't realize that the behavior that children are showing is telling us about something that is happening to them. And that's usually the case most of the time. We just need to sit and help them to unpack. You know the session you had yesterday morning, eh? It was important for us because as teachers or as school leaders, you needed to unpack your own personal biases first before we talk about inclusion. What happened to me? How did I react? The good, the bad? And who was this person or community or people group that I was irritated about, uncomfortable about? Why did I think that way towards them? Because when we don't unpack ourselves, we unintentionally carry those wrong lessons with us and we use it on other people thinking that it has been right along. And when we unpack ourselves, we're able to realize, okay, I've been in this situation before where I was not accepted. I was being bullied, all this. And it's important for me to show empathy to the student whom I am bullying right now, I'm angry right now. Because I need to understand the student. Because those sessions helped you to that. In that, because when we talk about inclusive education, it's about inclusive values, as I usually say. Inclusive values. And in Tauke, our inclusive values is what? Bulan ni vei rokorokovi, na bulan ni vei reirevi, na bulan ni vei kawaitaki. We are always looking out for people in our family, and that is why we are very good. We are communal people. We don't just look after our nuclear family. We are always looking out and looking after bumbu, tutu, auntie, uncle. Why? Nambulani be rere, we can nambulani be kawitaki. That inclusive part of us, mindset, needs to be brought, migrated into our classroom. Because your classroom, your school leaders, that is now your other home. You spend 8 hours a day in. And it is important for us to use those cultural values that we are brought up with, bring it into the classroom so that we can continue to display that. Looking after, looking out, taking care of people around us. Because without that, and without that connection, Nakawai, students will go in and out, no connection. And they won't learn from you when they don't feel they're connected with you. When they have that connection, they will be daring enough to ask you questions when they don't understand. When they are disconnected, even when they don't know, they will never open their mouth because they are so scared. Teacher might get angry with me because he has been teaching for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and yet I still don't understand. Teacher will say, what's wrong with me? So, inclusivity, yeah? Inclusive values. And that leads to this, very difficulties. I can tell you a lot more stories, but I won't. Health factors. I went to a school and the teacher was saying, Madam, this child always sleeps in the classroom. But because I've spent over 20 years in this field, it's almost automatic for me to ask questions. Yeah? But when I started, it was hard. Madam, take the parent, go and check his heart. Because children with heart problems will always be tired in the classroom. But that's because heart is not pumping the blood to the brain, making it flow. And behold, I received the report later on. The student had a heart problem and the family didn't know, school did not know, but the child becomes victimized because he's always sleeping. social media, we get angry at them. The child doesn't even know why they are behaving that way because he or she herself do not understand that they have a medical problem. RHD is now on the rise in Fiji, and these are things that we have to look at. And I know Joe and Kula would have spoken to you about inclusive education in general. What it is, when you talk about SDG 4 and inclusive education, children with disabilities, children who come from financially, low socioeconomic background, children from war-torn nations. War is happening, but how do these children, how can they continue to access education in the midst of war? How can they access education in the midst of being traumatized by seeing death and blood? That's all part of inclusive education. However, for us in Fiji, right now we are focusing on disability inclusive education, which mainly focuses on the inclusion of children with disabilities in our school. Hence the workshop that we are taking you through. Jonathan. Sienna?
Clear, madam.
Okay, learning disability, difficulties. What we will talk about today comes under learning specific or learning disabilities. A learning disability, can we read the 4 bullet points, 2, 3?
Learning disability results from a difference in the way a person's brain is wired. They are smart as or smarter than other kids. They have difficulty in reading, writing, spelling, and listening, recalling, and/or organizing information. Dyslexia is dysgraphia.
They come under learning disabilities. Have you heard of the word dyscalculia? No, calculia comes from calculus, and which is difficulty with maths. Dysgraphia, graphic. What else? Ability to write. Right? And if we are not careful, some of these issues of English, maths, and writing can be a result of learning difficulties. It only comes under this section once you're able to screen and identify that all those parts is going well, but yet the child is still facing difficulties, which we will look into. All right, I have a few pictures to show. Let's look at some brilliant people here on the board. Do you know them?
Yes.
Right. Who's at the top?
Einstein.
Your left, Einstein. What is he known for?
Father physics.
MC squared.
Yeah. Everybody can they recognize Einstein as someone famous, but we don't know.
Why is it very
Why is he famous? He's a
Some kind of
scientist.
scientist.
Yes. He's discovered the law of gravity. Yeah. What is it called? Newton's law. Yeah.
Sir, madam, he is not the one that is responsible for the gravity.
It's
to do with
Newton,
quantum
eh?
physics.
That's what I was going to say. No, Newton's law is Newton. It's
That's Newton.
Newton, yeah. But thank you. I was going to say we have to ask the science teachers here. Good. So below him is. Have you seen this picture before? So this guy is called Richard Branson. Have you heard of Richard Branson? Okay, have you heard of the airline Virgin Blue?
Yes.
Virgin Airlines? Right, he's the owner. Okay. Beside Richard Branson is not Elon Musk. He is Steve
Jobs.
Steve Jobs, yeah?
Apple.
Yes, I forgot. Sometimes I get confused with Steve Jobs and Steve Hawkins. Steve Jobs. He is the inventor of the Apple software, Apple computer, Apple company. Behind him is, now all of you will know him. Who?
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Arnold Schwarzenegger. Okay, what is he famous for?
Actor.
He is a famous actor, and beside him, above him is Sorry, I only put up pictures of people unfamiliar with the age. Yeah? And Jennifer Aniston, she is another actress in the famous series called Friends. Bottom left, Whoopi Goldberg, above Whoopi Goldberg is Newton. Anyway, what are the important things that we can see about these people?
Very successful.
They're very successful. They're famous. What else? They're rich, a lot of money. Millionaire.
The inventors.
Inventors, thank you. Innovators, look at the people who discovered all these important science things that we now follow. Many centuries later. Actors and actresses. Yeah, they're good. They're creators, creativity, they're innovators. Brilliant, I think worldwide, people my generation will know most of them, especially the actors and actresses. But what is something that they have in common?
Dyslexia.
They all have dyslexia. And why is that? We will learn this in the later slides. But why? Because dyslexia only affects people who are highly intelligent. They are creative, they are innovators, but the only part of the brain that has to do with reading is affected. But if we are to measure them according to IQ, these are people who are above average. And the testimony is what we see. Now, you may ask then, how can these people read their scripts for acting and then they're getting their millions while we're just going to the shop to buy the $1 CD to watch them? How do you think?
Audio?
Huh?
Recorded in audio?
Thank you. Their scripts were recorded on audio. All they have to do is to keep listening until they have crammed it and then they go. And that, in our educational term, is called reasonable accommodation. You might have students who can't read. If you're looking at some large books, geography, and they still can't read, we're working with a curriculum to have audio books so that they can listen to the audio. Because we know when you can't read, it will affect every other subject in the classroom. And the reasonable way of accommodating them is to have audio books where they can just listen while somebody is describing what's and they can keep that. And in cases where there are no audio books, use your FED to buy one recorder so that somebody can read the notes to the student and record, and the student just takes a record at home and then plays it to revise. Man, no, put it in a like a band for 2-3 hours and still can't make out what's on the page. Okay, I'll pause there. Yeah, you have some light bulb moments happening. That's just our introduction. And on top, okay, we'll have an activity. Madam Chico, Madam, that's my roommate from college. Gerard, roommate. Miss Yellow at the back. Quality. Okay? All right. I want you to read the words written on the slide from my right to the left, going down, but you have to read according to the color of the font. 2, 3.
Green, red, blue, yellow, black, orange, purple. Wow, that's the first one.
Ate mo raw, saan go?
Two purple, different purple.
Purple.
Purple. yellow, red, orange,
green.
Okay, thank you, fast readers. Some are still going on, some can't start. Let's wait for them to start. I'm giving you an experience of how the brain works. Tegutale, 2, 3.
green, red, blue, yellow, black, orange, blue, purple, green, purple, yellow, red, orange, yellow, blue, red, black, green.
For those primary school teachers, would you say that they are fluent readers?
No.
Because they keep stopping after each word. Why is that? Because your brain is processing what you're seeing. Right? And that's how the brain works. And our aim is for students to become fluent readers. But when the brain finds difficulty in processing that, it will be hard for them to become fluent readers. They can become accurate, but not fluent. Okay, next activity. Let's read this paragraph 2, 3.
Once upon a time, in
Mama Lua. Let's stop. Thank you, children. Now, this is exactly what happens when you ask the students to read aloud. And when they read aloud, you don't get to notice the slow readers. Yeah? Because the fast readers are taking over and you think, oh, all my children can read. That's how they keep progressing without you realizing that. Read again. Put your voice down. Okay, and as a teacher, my role is to look around the faces, see the confused faces, those who have not started. Continue.
the Papa Bear
Went
walking,
the Mama
Bear
went
jogging, and baby bear went sliding.
baby bear got into trouble
because he did not wear his skating clothes, and when he tumbled, all of his clothes got wet, and he caught a cold. His parents rushed him to the hospital only to be told that he needed to change his clothes to get better. And that's the end of my story.
Okay, one, can I ask Assistant Informada?
Once upon a time,
What usually happens in the classroom when you have someone trying to read and struggling? What do the other children try to do? Yeah, and what else? They stare. Sampai orang kasut. Simpan cuma itu lah nama simpan. And that's why for or struggling readers, of children with dyslexia, it's not good to call them out to read because we only embarrass them. And when they become embarrassed, their self-esteem goes down, and the further they get disconnected. Would you like to continue, or would you like to continue?
Once upon a time in nursery rhyme, there were 3 bears. One saw a papa bear. One saw a mama bear, and one was a baba bear. Ahum.
Good. Yes.
The papa bear went walking, the mama bear went jogging, and the baby bear went sliding. The baby bear got into trouble because he did not wear his skating clothes, and when he tumbled down the hill, all his clothes got wet, and he caught a cold.
Excellent. Continue. Should be
His parents rushed him to the hospital only to be told that he needed to change his clothes to get better, and that's the end of my story.
That's it. And Uncle Star. Good job. Give me 5. Okay. Give me 5 in the morning by your class. Okay, good. Saya up to really.
Oh, yeah.
What are we doing? Positive reinforcement. Because when I pull out of that, his friends will continue to cheer him in the class. Oh, good job. And as classroom teachers, I had to learn something when I was a teacher. I went to Google and I just looked for all the positive words that I could use in the classroom to learn them. But we don't even have that in us. It's naka, binaka, next. The only one we can say is binaka. Add to your vocabulary. Perfect. Excellent. Have 5. Good job. Well done. Even as teachers, we need to add to our vocabulary praise that we can continuously use to the student. Because when we do that, we will also add to the vocabulary of our children, and they will continue to encourage one another using the same vocabulary. And so indirectly, we are also building their language. That is something that students with dyslexia, they also experience. One of the things I tell teachers is this, because dyslexia has to do with understanding the code, decoding. We always say decoding, Primary school teachers, if for secondary schools, yes. For those of you who are foreign to the decode is to unpack. Because it has to do with print. A student will only have dyslexia if they have the same problem in their first language. If cannot read in English, then the child will not be able to read in Fijian. But if the child can read fluently in Fijian and not English, then it becomes English as a second language issue, or English as a foreign language. Because many of us, in your context, we don't even use Bawon, you use your dialect. Angay muri sarana English word. You would have noted, I don't know whether you've noticed, but what are some skills that helped you to decode this? Using your prior knowledge. Because you're already aware of the sentence structure, even though you did not know the other, it has to make sense that the word would be da. And you used it. So with children who have English as a foreign language means they have never been exposed to it. They wouldn't even have a prior language on how it has to be a proper sentence. In English, that's why they can be very good in Fijian, Itaukei or Hindi, but not in English because of that aspects of English as a second language or English as a foreign language. Andonya. And so these are also the process of elimination. We always say that's the elimination method. So when you have a student who's struggling in reading, you have to eliminate. Okay, can the child hear or not? Eliminate. Because hearing will prevent them from hearing the sounds and repeating the sounds, phonemic awareness. Vision will stop them from understanding what's read because they can't even see clearly, they can't spell well because they can't see the spell. Eliminate whether they can read in Fijian or not first before we try this. Apart from all the other things that are put in the reading difficulty area. If he has no issues with that, then we can move on to safely navigate to reading dyslexia. Now I'm talking about this but a word of caution. I don't want you to go back to your school and say, oh, dyslexia. Don't even use the word. Don't even use the word. The word is just there for your understanding. That's for your background knowledge. Yeah? You will use a layman term, your Fijian term, whatever it is, just to keep the children forward. Okay, let's watch this video to give us a better understanding of what we are talking about and the experience. All right, okay. Can you see that on the screen? Okay. What is like your dyslexia?
There's so many in your life.
Let's just have a bit of reflection. Okay, how do you feel? Because I'm in one group children members. Were they talking about last today, Making activity.
And again, question number one, how do I feel? I started myself. So afterwards, when I'm going through the processes of the things, I feel sorry for myself for not understanding the traffic jam that is going on within that brain where they are sitting inside the classroom. This is what's means. And then yet I'm on one side thinking, believing that whatever I'm doing is supposed to be comprehended. So I feel sorry.
You feel sorry for your student?
Yes. I'm on the wrong side.
Anybody else? Yes, sir.
For me, personally, I feel empowered after the presentation by most of the things that I'm hearing from the presentation this morning about children. And looking at the perspective that children are different. They have different learning needs. And I believe that we should cater for this learning needs in order for this child to progress.
Yes, yeah.
After looking at doing the video, I feel that we being unfair, reflecting back on how we used to teach, being unfair to children who come in different forms of learning abilities, and we've been confining them to paper and pen. This is the way it was and it has to be. And I feel we've been neglecting our children on feeling that these are the group they couldn't do it, so they will stay in that group until we just wait for them to exit. So I really believe that we are not fair enough.
Secondary school teachers. Yes, ma'am.
First of all, this is from a ethnic perspective. And maybe one of the reasons why I would not be able to deliver well and understand what my child or my children in the classroom are facing is because I myself am not sure what to teach.
You have the knowledge.
And maybe most of the children teachers out there, sorry, do not even know what are some of the challenges that the children can be going through. Because when we go to for data education, like during my, I'm not a very old teacher, it's just my 11th year teaching. And we were just during our teacher training, we were just told about it, and this is how the papers are done, this is how we analyze the results, we do SWOT analysis, and this is how we can help the children. But like, for me, I did not even know there could be better conditions with the child. When the child is born, it could be an obstacle for the child to learn. So maybe we are not equipped ourselves.
So we feel, what would be the word? We feel that the TTIs are not teaching you this, teacher training institutions, or maybe angry in part that you were not fully equipped.
Like feeling bad in the sense that all the while we are victimizing children and saying that it's not their not this, they're not right. And in fact, like we are not
You're not
that-
taught.
Yes. And so we lack skills as well. Basic skills.
Even like I said, a lot of children fall. What we've noticed during the verification, Kula will tell them of stories, Joe. You have teachers lining the children up to them to be assessed, thinking they have a disability, only to find that they just fall under the category of learning difficulty. Even just that simple part, teachers fail to recognize. The importance of nutrition, family background, etc., that could hinder the learning. Let alone the disability part. Sir, at the back. What's up?
I feel it said again.
Sorry?
There's some guilt too in me that I have let students went through without not being attended well, especially in terms of this. And at the same time, I feel so blessed that light has come into the school system. And I'm very, very grateful for this opportunity. Thank you very much.
Natra. I wanted to hear that secondary school. Okay, secondary, yeah? Okay, we tell secondary. Yeah, we have a podcast now.
Yeah, I feel empowered today and thinking about what's the right word? The disability. I think I'm the disabled, not the student, because I don't know what to do then. So yeah, I feel empowered today learning all this, and the important part that makes me interested in is the connection part. And it all goes back to the person you are, your value system. It all boils down there. I'm not trying to be very injustice to the young teachers, like teachers before we have these things. I remember my old teachers know this, old ladies teaching us from primary, and everyone would be running here and there, but still we were able to read. And comparing them to, I was sharing with my colleague here, my children, what are you teachers still teaching you now? You know, in class 4 still struggling. For us in our days, we were all in the village, we were able to read.
Even in the village.
In the village. And I'm very thankful for my old teachers in time, like old ladies, for helping us. And I do not see that in teachers now. I'm not trying to be very injustice.
The personal part, yes. Personal,
That's all I want to. Sorry for the young people.
That's all right. It's good for us to talk about it because I'd like to elaborate on that as well. Anybody else? This is thing I've always thought about. Number one, as teachers, we need to be reflective. We need to be reflective thinkers, reflective teachers. This is something that I personally, I would say that it was just a strength, personal strength. Every day since the day I started teaching, I would stay back after school and just reflect back right to when the children come in. How was my teaching? Which of the students didn't understand because observing? How can I cater for the student the next day? And that little reflection that I have in the afternoon will help me kickstart the day, the next day. And I would also, that was one of the main purposes I would stay back after school, because I wouldn't get the quality time when I'm at home. It was just that, thinking back to reflect. And then, okay, right, this did not work even me, okay, I wasn't satisfied with the way I taught, why? I need to do this tomorrow. So tomorrow, when I go back to revise the same concept, I will do the revision differently, using the strategy that I felt I should have done that day and I didn't do it. And then Number one, it's that reflect. We have to be people who reflect. We have to deep think. We have to be deep thinkers. And that's why we have done the workshop in a way to help us to reflect on our lives. And that started with yesterday's morning session. Like I said, we just go back and unpack our own lives, the injustices that took place in our own personal journey. I did that yesterday in Lampas, and some of them were talking about when they're primary, when they started teaching, new teachers, and one of them said, until today, whenever I think about it, it still hurts me. And often we bring that along with us. We bring that because that injustice had happened. I hated that particular teacher who was a particular race and particular this, and it distorted the way I thought about the particular race. And I continued journey thinking that this particular race is everybody within that race has this. But it is during this session that we have to stop. So, no, it's not about the race. Maybe it was just the person. How can I change that mindset? Because if I'm not careful, the very words that come out of my mouth unintentionally will have some biases showing, even without me realizing. And then because that is how we behave, that's how we live our life, our children pick it up and think that it is right. And it promotes exclusion rather than inclusion. Going back to this, let's sit and reflect. How do you feel? How must the children who come under you feel? So this reflection bit is, if there's an important takeaway that I'd like you to take with you at the end of it, it's also this, the importance of reflection. When I'm not done there, quite tired. I'll just reflect on our life, on how we are portraying what we believe, or our belief system is somewhere and the action is totally different. Going back to that. And the other thing is, a lot of us are part of the Fiji Teachers Facebook page, right? And then we always see the blame game happening, too many blame games. And I think it's time that we start to stop pushing the back and to do the good that we can do within the time frame that we have now with the students that I have, because this moment will never be repeated. This moment with the students that I have will never come back. And if I can make a difference now, then it has to happen. Start with me and start at home. What you do in private will always be manifested in how you live your life publicly. Reflected in my classroom. Because that moment, that year, that month, that day could be a defining moment for the student to feel, wow, I connected. And that will take the child for the next 10 years. One teacher, maybe if you reflect on our personal journey, primary, secondary, one teacher could have made a difference in your life. And that teacher could have just spearheaded you just because of the way you felt inside. Nothing to do with the disability. Back to our personal being, our character, who I am or how we are as a teacher. That makes a big difference. Number two, children today are are more exposed to the distractions that never existed during our time. People my age, we're in the 40s, I'm 48 this year. At that time, I lived in Suba, there was even no video, right? Berasarna TV. No video. We did not even hear, that's what I was reflecting on my way here. We never even, no phone, We did not have access to internet. Oh, we did not. Well, in the whole world, there was not there. We never even heard of the word. What's his word? Suicide. To commit suicide. Because I think sometimes people do what they think because they've been exposed to those things. We didn't hear of suicide, and then nobody even wanted to think about committing suicide. It was unheard of in our time because those words never existed. Awareness on those things never existed. And it would be the same as disability. We never knew about disability because there was no awareness. We never heard about them. And so we did not deal with the students with disability. Children, we were not exposed to the kind of food, processed food and sweets that children today are exposed to. We will get into this when we talk about ADHD and its implications. The diet, social media, the implications on today's behavior. And here we are as classroom teachers, we are playing the blame game. Classroom teachers didn't do the good. We should bring back the old curriculum when we were small, bring SPC readers. SP reader had its own time. Because then there was no social media, there was no video. The in thing at that time was the SPC readers, because everybody read. Today, we even have university students who hate reading the notes. Who hate reading lecture notes, who don't even have the time to read when teachers are giving them their textbook. But they would prefer to listen. Podcast, they listen to the notes. Even now, the journal articles to do your research, it's available in mid-audio. So rather than reading 20, 60 pages, you can just listen to it while you're washing or walking and get all the research information you need. That's how life has evolved. And that's how children nowadays are more distracted than ever. And apart from the difficulties that they encounter in life, they are there in your classroom in person, but disconnected emotionally and psychologically. Sarah tungay lo di classroom na yan, saya ito na. And then to add to that, what do we have now? Drugs. Child must have been upset from home. They come to school still very upset. Now those are the added, what's the word? The layers of distraction that we have. Because in the past, all we could do was play outside. And that playing as well helped us to focus. Now they're just lying down. What happened? They don't want to be active. And when they're less active, the brain is less stimulation. Everything connects in and out of the classroom. Okay, I have to continue. Right. So what is dyslexia? Can we read together? 2, 3.
Dyslexia is the most prevalent specific learning disability today. Children with dyslexia are intelligent but have an unexpected difficulty with reading. The difficulty is unexpected because it contradicts the child's intelligence. It is not only about children seeing reverse letters, but many more.
Thank you. We did say that dyslexia, children with dyslexia are intelligent, right? But there's something wrong. You know, you think, man, this child is so good. But how come they can't read? You know, and then you start getting on with what's happening to you? Some of the words, yeah. You can't talk. You know all these things about what's happening because of their social media. But you don't know how to read. And we often we use that as a trump card to pull a student down if they are very active out there. And when we touch on that software, the child just goes shrieks. But what are we doing? we're adding to the child's pain. And when they spiral down, this leads to depression, which is on the rise again. See? Okay, we will quickly go through some misconceptions of dyslexia. 2, 3. Listing letters and words backwards. Okay, why is it a misconception? Because even children who are learning to read, they go through this. The P and the Q, the D and the D. But often also, we think that just because a child only has difficulty with this, they think dyslexia. We don't realize dyslexia has many more layers to it. It's much more than that. Yeah? And we think sometimes it's just that. And this little thing, we scratch it and we say that the child has dyslexia. Okay, let's read that. 2, 3.
60% of children with dyslexia
Okay, sorry. You don't see this kind of thing. Stop children from watching kids.
awareness and rapid
Okay, sorry. Okay. 2, 3.
60% of children with dyslexia have double deficit in phonemic awareness and rapid naming speed. 80% of children with dyslexia have deficit in phonemic awareness and rapid naming speed. Deficits may include verbal, short-term memory, problems with working memory, comprehension, etc.
Okay, in basic terms, what does it mean? Children with dyslexia have two major things that they're lacking in. Number one, phonemic awareness, the ability to match the sound to the letter that they see. Some of them may be able to sound out the words individually, but they can't blend, put the sounds together. I've experienced this assessing students in high school. It's painful for me to see this student, 16-year-old. Okay, look for K, T, D. Then I decided to use the word cat, C-A-T. Put that together. Could not read the word cat. Because the student could segment that individually, but when I put it together, they just could not make out that cat, could not blend. They have a deficit in that, phonemic awareness. What's the difference between phonemic awareness and phonics, Lavinia?
phonemic awareness is just like for them to identify the sounds, like cat, cat. Phonics is when they come to the recognition of the word itself, as in cat. That's the difference.
Yeah? So, the word is phonemic awareness. Phonics is a second layer to phonemic awareness. Dona Juliani what? Second deficit is rapid naming speed. The ability to automatic. This is where your morning routine becomes very important. Because at the end of the day, fluency is about rapid naming, the ability to just come out with what they see. And often students with dyslexia, 60% have both. They're looking at the word, they can't put the sound to the words. Plus, they're looking at the word, they recognize it, but from here to here, slow. A bit happened to you today when you were reading. You're looking at the word yellow, but in green somewhere, and you decide whether it's green or yellow. Your brain had to pause in between for you to. That affected the automaticity of fluency. That comes to rapid naming speed. You know, we used to have something that helped with this, which is no longer available. Class 7 students, before we had rapid reading, the time to be able to read, those are things that help. You know, use that as your complementary, supplementary books if you still have it in your school. Don't throw it away. Some of us, with the new curriculum, we throw everything out. Because there's some good things there. Maybe the words is just different. Like now we say rapid naming assessment for us automaticity. And the 30% of the population have either or. Maybe just the ability to sound. Or maybe just the ability, they know it here, but it's just so hard for it to come out. Where did this come out? When you're reading your paragraph. And then you finally figured out that I could read from the right to the left instead of left to right to make up that sound, and plus your prior knowledge helps you put it together. Well, there's some students who don't do that. Deficits may include verbal short-term memory. What's a short-term memory? I would say to Inise, can I have your phone number? She sends me and I'm pressed again. Slowly. It's working with the information that is at hand right there and then. Some of us, some like me, until today, I can't clear my husband's phone now. I don't know why. My children tell me, Mommy, it's this. It's so hard, to be honest. I think that contributes to how I struggle in school. I'll tell my children, you know, you really have to work hard. Because my position growing up, 25th, 26th, 27 at the back bench. But somehow we were able to make it. And that's why you have some students, when you do phonemic awareness morning routine, they sing, they know, but it can't come out of their mouth. That automaticity is what they and then later, that is where your intervention has to come. And that's where morning routine is brilliant. You are providing intervention through your morning routine because you're training the brain to. And if they're having difficulty with the alphabets, look at just some objects they already know. Like in Australia, you can just have the picture of the car, tree, house, star. And you'll see some of them, even to go through that very quickly, they'll find it hard. But they already know. And you can start from that. And then move back into alphabet later. If that is what they're having problem with. Because the issue is awakening that part of the brain that has to recognize instantly. Set. Children with dyslexia differ in their dyslexia profile, A to Z. No two children will be alike. Some will see what you saw in the video. Some will not, that will not happen to them. And so they will exhibit different parts of dyslexia, different characteristics of dyslexia. And again, for us, we don't diagnose. I'm sure we talked about it yesterday. We don't diagnose, but we can say you have symptoms of. You're displaying characteristics of dyslexia, whatever it is. Because doctors, they're the only one who have been qualified to diagnose. Don't worry, they'll catch up. Why is there a misconception? This happens a lot in schools. Don't worry. Uli yan, tanang kay... Yan na ngamay. Often, not often, the truth is once dyslexic, you'll always be dyslexic. Some students may never catch up. Some will catch up. But the most important thing that I want to bring to attention is this. When you say, Erika, don't just catch up. What you stop your intervention, you never provide intervention. Go and provide intervention, because if you provide intervention, the child will be able to speed up a bit. So perspectives is important. If you have a student who's coming to school and is quite slow, and the parent is concerned, don't tell the parent, they'll catch up. It's okay, we'll do something, go ahead, you don't necessarily have to sit in this kind of workshop to get the knowledge. You have the world in your hand, on your phone, go to Google. There's journal articles, go to YouTube. If you don't like reading them, there's a lot of important information on YouTube, people who specialize in this area. Just type the words and a lot of things will come up. Go there. Sadly, a lot of us, as soon as we finish from teacher's college, and that's why we keep saying, oh, that thing worked better, that strategies worked better. Because our learning stopped as soon as we walked out of teacher's college. I may be wrong. And I hope I am wrong. Or maybe from today onwards we can make it wrong right. Because the learning has to continue. I graduated many years ago until today. Now my team even knows I always listen to podcasts. Important. You've got Spotify. Stop listening to the music on Spotify. Listen to they have documentaries there. They have important topics on Spotify that you can listen to. YouTube. Listen to different things that contribute to life in general. Just the other night, I was sharing to Loretta yesterday. And I couldn't go to sleep, so I went onto YouTube and I started watching something on cancer. Why cancer is spreading very fast among women nowadays. And what they said in the interviews, because a lot of beauty products that women use have these ingredients that slowly over the years contribute to cancer, particularly to breast cancer. And so now after that, we went through postulates yesterday, we were looking at all the ingredients trying to, and I said, okay, I'll just go back to coconut oil. The most natural of all. See, that is learning. I would say we learn every day, yeah? And we can bring the learning into our classroom, our teenagers in secondary schools. Next one, conception number 3, dyslexia doesn't even exist and is certainly not an official disability. I believe in some countries or even in our lives, some of us think that it is not a disability, but as we're learning today, it is a disability. Kids with dyslexia simply need more reading, instruction. Why is this wrong? There was one word that Madam Kaliti used, especially when the student was just doing rote reading, and she used another important word. She was just using rote, and she was not using the skills like other readers were using. Reading is a skill that has to be explicitly taught. A lot of us know that. We were not born natural readers. So when you're trying to provide intervention, don't just get reading. I get the book, it's reading time. No, that's not an intervention. You intervene for those who are struggling. I'm talking about those who are struggling because of dyslexia. Teach the skills. Teach the skills, teach the skills. Not just read. Maybe for those who have already known how to read, then reading, okay, reading to learn, as opposed to learning to read. That's a bit of just revision. Class 1 to 4, we teach children to read, learn to read. Class 5 to 8, we teach them to read to learn. So that skill, explicitly teaching the skills is important. If the child has not been taught how to read, then they will never be able to read to learn. Because the foundation is missing. Last one, let's read on this, 2, 3.
Dyslexia is not inherited.
So what's another learning we have today? It is inherited. So when we are checking out the children's reading, we'll ask, is there anybody in your family who's struggling with reading? Boom, boom, your cousin, maybe mom or dad doesn't know how to read. And that's why, again, the importance of connection. Only when we connect, then we'll be able to know these things. Because often we have to connect not only to the child, but to the parents as well. That's one of the important pillars in education, parental engagement. Often we ask, man, I don't know, these parents, they never come for AGM. Well, the banana to connect with, or you connect with, we're just far from each other. The feeling of not enough care. So dyslexia is inherited. As soon as they say there's somebody in the family, that's a red flag. And I've always told the teachers, maybe it's time that in our enrollment forms, we take in a Donataro. Donataro, is there anybody in your family who struggles to read? If it's a yes, then you will know from the point of enrollment, red flag, written on a file, done back on a red sticker, on a yellow sticker. You use it as your school strategy. If we pass the profile up to the next level, the teacher will, oh, red sticker or red green sticker, this child is a struggling person. I need to be on the lookout for. These are simple strategies that we can use as a school. Because maybe the child was not struggling. Something happened in class 4. And so before you pass the folders up to class 5, the class 4 teacher can put the sticker there and write the short note. So that when the child goes up and the teacher on the first week or before school starts read, there's a sticker here, let me see what the teacher has written about the child. Mom passed away last year, the student is still struggling to come to terms with mom's death. That contributes to learning difficulties. Mom and dad was separated in term 3. So the child has been absent for a while. That will help you to be empathetic towards the child when you come in. And you don't say, really, it's after 1 or 2 years now, your parents have been separated, get over it. No. Because that's trauma for the child. It's a big thing when parents separate. Big thing for the child, because for the child, parents are their world. And when separation happens, we as adults, we think about ourselves and how we cope. We don't think of the child that is. The child may be just, yes, no. But the world, child's world has shattered, has broken within them. And they come to school with that hurt, with that pain, traumatized by the experience that is happening. Contributes to learning difficulties. Sorry, dyslexia can be easily corrected with colored lens. Now this is what they do overseas, but it's not. It's just something called the Erlen syndrome, but it's not. It does not have to do with dyslexia. Their poor reading performance is a reflection of low intelligence. That's not true, because what did we learn today? They are highly intelligent. It's upon you and I to observe and to bring up the strengths that they have, that they themselves may not realize they have. Students with dyslexia will continue to have the same errors as the beginning readers. That is also not true. Okay, let's say now. We've got some cognitive overload happening, too much information. Good information, interesting, but just let's allow this information to sink in for a while. Yeah? Okay, breathe in, out, in, out. Okay, let's close our eyes. Spend a minute or two thinking about this topic and what you have learned. Let's pick out something, just one point, for you to reflect on while your eyes is closed. You can move your leg while you are trying to concentrate. Open your eyes. Okay, move your head forward and backward. 1, 2, 3. Or you can close your eyes. Left to right, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Head straight. Put your right hand out. Follow your finger to your left. Follow your finger. Slowly. Back to the middle. Focus on your finger. To the other side. Slowly. Back to the middle. Right. Point towards you. Point at UK. Bring your finger forward. Bring it towards you. Focus. Back. Okay. Down. Breathe in and breathe out. Right. Move around a bit before we sit down. Okay, I'd like you to get into groups, eh? Alright? Wabok Manda, Wabok Si. You should do this in your own classes, eh? When you're teaching. Give your children some time to break in between. Punoy Manda. No, even in your own classroom, you have to look out for this. When children are getting tired, you don't mind that stretch. Some of us, and we keep telling them, finish, you know, otherwise you won't go back around. No, they need a break, just as we need a break ourselves.
Good.
Now sit down. Wow.
Oh, enggak, gue mau ngapain dulu.
Yeah, but he can read.